So now let us continue our topic, that is importance of wetlands. Wetlands are indispensable. Indispensable means without it, it is essential. Without it, we can't be. So wetlands are indispensable because of ecosystem services they provide, from ranging from freshwater supply and food, building materials and biodiversity to flood control and groundwater recharge and climate change mitigation. Freshwater supply, పరిశుద్ధమైన నీరు and food, building material and biodiversity to flood control, groundwater recharge and climate change mitigation. Wetlands are habitats for aquatic flora and fauna and numerous species of native migratory birds, which is very important. And then they are the they are an important resource for sustainable tourism. What do you mean by sustainable tourism? Sustainable tourism means responsible travel, okay? And that responsible travel that minimizes environmental impact, support local economies, and respect cultural heritage, and ensuring long-term destination viability, okay, minimizing environmental impact and support local economies and respect cultural heritage and ensuring long-term destination viability. What do you mean by long-term destination viability? Viability means feasibility, that feasible for in long term. Okay, they also carry out water purification and filtration of sediments and nutrients from the surface water నుంచి వాటర్ ప్యూరిఫై చేస్తాయి, sediments and filter చేస్తాయి, and nutrients from surface water. They help in nutrient cycling like nitrogen cycle, carbon dioxide cycle, phosphorus cycle. They help in nutrient cycling and groundwater recharging and stabilization of local climate. They play an essential role in flood mitigation and by controlling the rate of runoff. And they they also act as a buffer. Shorelines act as a riparian buffer against erosion and pollutants. They act as a genetic reservoir. What do you mean by genetic reservoir? Population with diverse species that can able to adapt future events, okay, for various species of plants, especially rice. And they also act as a carbon sink. Okay, let us see the previous year question. If rainforest and tropical forest are the lungs of the earth, then surely wetlands functions as a kidneys. Which one of the following functions of wetlands best reflects the above statement? The water cycle in wetlands involve surface runoff, subsoil percolation, and evaporation. The water cycle, surface runoff, no, it filters sediments, algae from the nutrient base upon which fish and birds, reptiles, mammals thrive. Wetlands play a vital role in maintaining sedimentation balance and soil stabilization. And soil stabilization, no, due to water runoff, sometimes soil may run off. Maintains sedimentation, no, it filters sediments. Aquatic plants absorb heavy metals and excess nutrient. That is why it helps in nutrient recycling. So kidneys detoxify by filtering toxins out of into your blood into urine, out of blood. And similarly, detoxify means taking something bad from something. Aquatic plants is a wetland absorb heavy metals and excess nutrients. Aquatic plants in a wetland absorb heavy metals and excess nutrients. Okay. Now reasons for the depletion of wetland: excess pollutants, excessive adhika pollutants, industrial effluents, domestic waste, agriculture runoff are dumped into the wetlands beyond recycling capacity. ఇవి ఇండస్ట్రియల్ ఎఫ్లుయెన్స్, డొమెస్టిక్ వేస్ట్, అగ్రికల్చర్ రన్ ఆఫ్ ఇవి రీసైకిల్ అవుతాయి. కానీ రీసైకిల్ అయ్యే కెపాసిటీ బియాండ్ if we are dumping excessively, then the wetlands may deplete. Habitat destruction and deforestation create ecological imbalance by altering the population of wetland species. Conversion of wetland for agriculture and enforced encroachment by public and mafia, overfishing and fish farming, and overgrazing in marshy soils. What do you mean by marshy soils? Let us see it later. And removal of sand from beds near seas and make wetland vulnerable to wave action and tidal bore. Removing sand from beds near seas makes wetland vulnerable to wave action. Mitigation of wetland destruction. Let us look at how we can mitigate demarcation of wetlands using technology. We should demarcate. What do you mean by demarcation? Demarcation means to mark or establish the limits of something. ఇది ఎక్కడి వరకే demarcate. Demarcation of wetlands using technology and proper enforcement of laws and stringent punishments for violators, and preventing unsustainable aquaculture and cultivation of shellfish, and treating industrial effluents and water from farmlands before discharging into wetlands. Utilizing wetlands sustainably by giving enough time for natural regeneration. Utilizing wetlands sustainably by giving enough time for natural regeneration. Artificial regeneration for quick recovery. And afforestation, weed control, preventing invasive species are the key to wetland conservation. Preventive measures to stop to introducing exotic invasive species like water hyacinth, 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 hyacinth. Soil conservation measures and afforestation, preventing grazing in peripherals of wetlands. Peripheral means then చుట్టుపక్కల. Wildlife conservation and sustainable tourism, ecotourism, and sensitizing the local populace. Sensitizing and local populace means making them aware of eutrophication abatement by avoiding eutrophication by processes of nutrient-rich discharge into water body. By processing nutrient-rich discharge into water body, involving the local population in conservation. So this is what about importance of wetlands. Now, measures to protect wetlands of India. Measures to protect wetlands of India. As per National Wetland Atlas published by ISRO Space Application Center, Ahmedabad, India has 15.26 million hectare area, that is 4.6% of India's land area under wetlands. Okay, of these 70% are under paddy cultivation. 70% to paddy cultivation లో ఉందంట, అంటే హ్యూమన్ మేడ్. అండ్ ఇన్లాండ్ వెట్లాండ్స్ constitute and inland wetlands constitute 69.22%. Inland wetlands constitute 69.22%. Nearly 75% of the inland wetland area are in the form of lakes, ponds, including those less than 2.5 hectare area. 2.25. Natural wetlands in India range from high altitude wetlands in the Himalayas, high altitude wetlands in the Himalayas, అవి ఏంటవి glaciers, lakes, glacial, glacial lakes, swamps, and floodplain marshes. Floodplains of major river system and saline and temporary wetlands of arid and semi-arid regions and coastal wetlands such as lagoons, backwaters, estuaries, mangroves, swamps, and coral reefs, and so on. And the temperate wetlands of arid and semi-arid region. Coastal wetlands such as lagoons, backwaters, estuaries, mangroves, and swamps, and coral reefs, and so on. The alluvial plains of river Ganga and Brahmaputra, alluvial, alluvial, alluvial plains of river Ganga, Brahmaputra have extensive riverine wetland. What do you mean by riverine wetland formations? Riverine అంటే river దగ్గర form అయిన wetlands. Ganga Brahmaputra riverine wetland formations as floodplains and oxbows known as Mount Beal, Chor, Jeel, and Pat. Oxbow. What do you mean by oxbow? U-shaped curve of river and arid zone spanning Rajasthan, Gujarat has vast saline flats, monsoon-fed freshwater lakes, as well as salt lakes. For example, Samba and Panchapatra, Deedwana, and Lukansar. Peninsular Deccan region is studded with man-made lakes. Peninsular Deccan region is studded with man-made lakes. Several lakes act as suitable habitats for water birds. Several lakes act as suitable habitats for water birds. Water birds like Vartur, Rachenahali, and Amrutali lakes in Bangalore. National Plan for Conservation of Aquatic Ecosystem. National Plan for Conservation of National Plan for Conservation of Aquatic Ecosystem for the integrated and cross-sectoral conservation coordinating administrations at all levels of aquatic ecosystem. National Plan for Conservation of Aquatic Ecosystem NPCA for integrated and cross-sectoral conservation and coordinating administrations at all levels of aquatic ecosystems, lakes and wetlands. So National Plan for Conservation of Aquatic Ecosystems. Okay, the National Lake Conservation Plan and it is the combination of it is a combination of National Lake Conservation Plan and National Wetland Conservation Program. It is to protect and restore lakes and wetlands. It is designed to protect and restore lakes and wetlands. NPCA aims to stop and reverse the damage and loss of these important water bodies. NPCA, National Plan for Aquatic Ecosystem, is to stop and reverse the damage and loss of these important water bodies. The program has been active since 2012, is funded by both central government and state governments. Central government and state government do fund provides a center. Central government covers 70% of the state's cost, while state government cover only 30%. In northern states of India, central government covers 90 is to 10 ratio. And then next, the central government through MOEF means Ministry of Environment and Forest oversee and support programs to protect lakes and wetlands. They offer guidance, financial help, technical support to state governments. Okay, offer guidance, financial help, technical support to state governments. However, because the land belongs to the states, the state and union territories governments are responsible for managing these water bodies. Land belongs to the states. The state and union territories, the states that state and union territories are responsible for managing these water bodies. To determine which wetlands are considered nationally important, NPCA uses the same criteria as outlined in the Ramsar Convention on Wetlands. National Protection and Conservation of Aquatic Ecosystems uses the same criteria, that is those outlined, highlighted, incorporated in the points eh, by Ramsar Convention on Wetlands. Ministry of Environment and Forest (MOEF) means. Okay, so wetland conservation management tools, uh, management rules 2010 were established by MOEF to protect wetlands from further damage. These rules are legally binding under Environmental Protection Act 1986. Here is the breakdown of how these rules work. Central Wetland Regulatory Authority. This body, led by Secretary of MOEF, ensures that rules are followed correctly. Central Wetland Regulatory Authority under, led by Secretary of MOEF, ensures that rules are followed correctly. Classification and management. Wetlands are categorized to make them easier to manage and identify. Wetlands are categorized to make them easier to manage and identify. The rules cover not just the wetlands themselves but also surrounding drainage areas defined by CWRA. What do you mean by CWRA? Central Wetland Regulatory Authority. Prohibited activities. Certain harmful activities are banned, including industrialization and permanent construction, dumping solid or untreated waste, and reclamation in wetlands. What do you mean by reclamation in wetlands? Punardharana, reclamation, and reclamation in wetlands. Permissible activities like aquaculture, farming fish, agriculture, resource harvesting, and dredging can be done, but only with prior approval from the relevant authorities. Exceptions. The central government can allow activities that usually prohibited or other uses of wetland if recommended by CWRA. The central government can allow activities that are usually prohibited or other uses of wetland if recommended by CWRA. The rules aim to ensure wetlands are protected while allowing some regulated use under supervision. These rules aim to ensure wetlands are protected while allowing some regulated use under supervision. Now, Wetland Conservation Management Rules 2017. It is updated version of 2010 rules. Here how the new rules work. Decentralized management. State and union territories now have more control. Before they do not have central use to regulate. They can identify and declare wetlands in the area and monitor activities that could harm these wetlands. Decentralized management is very important. State and union territories now have more control before they do not have in 2010 rules. They can identify and declare wetlands in their areas and monitor activities that could harm these wetlands. National Wetlands Committee. This committee advises states on how to manage wetlands effectively following the principle of wise use, using wetlands in a way that it maintains using the wetland in a way that it maintains ecological functions. This is the principle of wise use. Okay? Using wetlands in a way that it maintains their ecological functions. They also review the management of Ramsar convention sites కూడా మేనేజ్ చేస్తారు oversight to ensure state followed these rules. National Wetlands Committee was the established led by Secretary of MOEF and NWC acts as a main advisory body for the National Plan for Conservation of Aquatic Ecosystem and helps guide states in the managing wetlands wisely. National Wetlands Committee. In short, 2017 rules give more power to states for wetland management while providing national oversight and guidance. While providing national oversight and guidance and a supervision and guidance. What do you mean by oversight? Process of supervising, monitoring activities to ensure they are carried out correctly according to the rules. Now, state wetland authority responsibility. States and union territories are responsible for managing wetlands. They do this by creating state wetlands authorities, each led by environment minister, include experts in area like wetland ecology, hydrology, fisheries, and planning. State wetlands authorities are led by environment ministry. Task: state wetland authorities must identify and officially declare wetlands that need protection within the set time frame. Create and enforce list of activities that are allowed and restricted in these wetlands and their surrounding areas. Suggest any additional activity that should be banned for specific wetlands. Requirements: within 3 months, prepare a list of all wetlands in the state or UT. Within 6 months, create a list of wetlands to be officially declared for protection. Within 1 year, develop a detailed digital inventory of all wetlands, which must be updated every 10 years. మూడు నెలల లోపల మూడు నెలల లోపల లిస్ట్ ప్రిపేర్ చేయాలి వెట్లాండ్స్. 6 నెలల లోపల అఫీషియల్గా డిక్లేర్ చేయాలి ఫర్ ప్రొటెక్షన్. Within 1 year, develop a detailed digital inventory of all wetlands which must be updated every 10 years. 1 year లోపల ఒక డిజిటల్ లిస్ట్ ఇన్వెంటరీ లిస్ట్ వెట్లాండ్ లిస్ట్ చేసి దాన్ని ప్రతి 10 yearsకి అప్డేట్ చేయాలి. ఓకే, సో దిస్ ఈజ్ వాట్ అబౌట్ స్టేట్ వెట్లాండ్స్ అథారిటీ. What cannot be notified as wetlands under rules? River channels, paddy fields, human-made water bodies, and aquaculture and salt production, recreation, irrigation projects, wetlands, and protected areas falling within areas covered under Indian Forest Act 1947, Forest Conservation Act 1980, Wildlife Conservation Act 1972, Coastal Regulation Act 2019 cannot be notified under Wetland Rules 2017. Indian Forest Act 1927, Forest Conservation Act 1980, Wildlife Protection Act 1972, and Coastal Regulation Zone Notification 2019 cannot be notified under Wetland Rules 2017. Prohibited activities very much similar to 2011 rules. Prohibited activities very much similar to 2011 rules. Conversion of wetland of non-wetland uses. Prohibited activities. Conversion of wetland for non-wetland uses. Setting up of any industry and expansion of existing industry. These are prohibited activities. Okay. According to rules, manufacturing, handling, storage, disposal of hazardous substances and construction and demolition waste, solid waste dumping, discharge of untreated waste, effluents from industries, cities, towns, villages, and other settlements. The rules also restrict encroachment, poaching, and permanent construction except for boat jetties. Boat jetties means, let us see, boat jetties means boat jetties means the structure built over water where boats can dock, load, or unload passengers, and also known as pier. Okay, harbor దగ్గర boat jetties. Let us see its pronunciation. Boat can dock or moor. Dock. Boat can dock or moor. ఒడిలో ఎక్కడానికి వీలుగా ఒడ్డు నుండి సముద్రంలోకి నిర్మించబడిన వేదిక. Dock and moor. Dock and moor. Moor అంటే make fast concerns a provision in the rules that state a provision in the rules that states the central government may consider proposals from state government and duty government for omitting of any prohibited activities. One authority's recommendation can be misused. అయితే సెంట్రల్ గవర్నమెంట్ స్టేట్ గవర్నమెంట్ ఏమన్నా ప్రపోజ్ చేసిందంటే ఏమన్నా యాక్టివిటీస్ తీసేయాలి రిస్ట్రిక్షన్ నుంచి అని చెప్తే సెంట్రల్ చేసేయచ్చంట అది మిస్యూజ్ చేస్తున్నారంట. According to 2010 rules, anyone aggrieved with the CWRA decisions, Central Wetland Regulatory decisions, could have filed an appeal with the National Green Tribunal, but 2017 rules silent on appeal process. So this is the drastic change. The subject to definition of wise use is to be determined by state wetland authority, which is prone to manipulation of vested interest. వైస్ యూస్ అనే ప్రిన్సిపల్ స్టేట్ వెట్లాండ్ అథారిటీ డిఫైన్ చేయాలి డిటర్మైన్ నిర్ణయించగలరంట విచ్ ఇస్ ప్రోన్ టు మ్యానిపులేషన్ బై వెస్టెడ్ ఇంట్రెస్ట్. మెజర్స్ టు ప్రొటెక్ట్ Global wetlands. So, measures to protect global wetlands. Ramsar Convention on Wetlands. What is this Ramsar Convention on Wetlands? Is an international treaty for conservation and sustainable use of wetlands. రామ్సార్ కన్వెన్షన్ అన్నది ఒక ఇంటర్నేషనల్ ట్రీటీ అంట. ఎందుకు? ఫర్ కన్జర్వేషన్ అండ్ సస్టైనబుల్ యూజ్ ఆఫ్ వెట్లాండ్స్. The convention was signed on 2nd February, World Wetlands Day, in 1971 in Ramsar, in the city of Ramsar in Iran. 2nd February, that is World Wetlands Day, in the city in 1971 in the city of Ramsar in Iran. The number of parties is 172. India is a party since 1982. At the center of Ramsar philosophy, at the center of Ramsar philosophy is wise use, maintenance of ecological character for sustainable development of wetlands. The center of Ramsar, the philosophy of the center of Ramsar philosophy is wise use, maintenance of ecological character for sustainable development, ecological character for sustainable development of wetlands. The theme of 2023, it's time for wetland restoration. Criteria for identification of wetlands. Unique wetland contains rare or unique example of natural or near natural wetland type. Endangered species. Endangered species supports threatened, vulnerable, endangered or critically endangered species communities. Essential species supports population of plant or animal species important for maintaining biological diversity. Endangered species and supports threatened, vulnerable, endangered or critically endangered species communities. And species protection support plant and animal species at a critical stage in their life and provides refuge during adverse conditions. Species protection supports అంటే ఏంటి? స్పీసీస్ ప్రొటెక్షన్ అంటే సపోర్ట్ ప్లాంట్ ఆర్ యానిమల్ స్పీసీస్ అట్ ఏ క్రిటికల్ స్టేజ్ in their life cycle or provides refuge during adverse conditions. Water birds regularly supports 20,000 plus water birds and a single species of water birds regularly supports 1% of the water individuals in a population of one species or subspecies of water birds. Single species of water birds regularly supports 1% of the individuals in a population of one species or subspecies of water birds. Indigenous fish supports a significant proportion of indigenous fish. Indigenous fish. Single species of water birds. Water birds regularly supports 1% of individual in population of one species. Indigenous species. Multi-role. It is essential food source for fish, spanning ground and ecotourism. It is an essential source of food and water resource, increase scope for recreation and tourism. Contracting parties to Ramsar Convention. COPE is a policy making contracting party. COPE is a policy making organ of Ramsar Convention. Every 3 years, the representatives of COPE meet conference of the contracting parties. The conference of contracting parties. COP13 took place in Dubai. COP13 took place in Dubai, UAE in 2018. In 14th meeting conference to the Ramsar Convention on Wetlands, COP14 took place in November 2022. In a hybrid format in Wuhan in China. Wuhan in China, and Geneva, Switzerland in hybrid format. Wuhan, China, Geneva, and Switzerland. First Dubai, తర్వాత UAE, then COP14 takes place in a hybrid format in Wuhan, China, Geneva, Switzerland. COP14 was initially scheduled held in Chinese city of Wuhan. COP14 was initially scheduled to be held in Chinese city of Wuhan and situated on the left bank of initially scheduled in Chinese city of Wuhan. Wuhan on the left bank of the uh, Yangtze River, the longest river in Asia. Wuhan on the longest river in Asia. Yangtze. Let us see the pronunciation. Yangtze River. It was postponed due to COVID pandemic. షెడ్యూల్ చేశారు కానీ కోవిడ్ పాండమిక్ వల్ల పోస్ట్ పోన్ అయింది. వుహాన్ డిక్లరేషన్ 2025 2030 global strategic framework for wetland conservation were adopted at COP14. Wuhan Declaration in 2025 2030 global strategic framework for wetland conservation were adopted at COP14. Wuhan Declaration in 2025 to 2030 Global Strategic Framework for Wetland Conservation were adopted at COP14. The offer nothing new. The responsibilities of contracting parties. A vital commitment of contracting parties is to identify and place suitable wetlands onto the list of wetlands of international importance, that is the Ramsar list. వాళ్ళు ఐడెంటిఫై చేసి సూటబుల్ వెట్లాండ్స్ని ఐడెంటిఫై చేసి రామ్సార్ లిస్ట్లో వెట్లాండ్స్ ఇంటర్నేషనల్ లిస్ట్లో ప్లేస్ చేయడమే, ఆల్సో నోన్ యాజ్ రామ్సార్ లిస్ట్. Contracting parties are expected, not mandated, to manage their Ramsar sites to maintain their ecological character and retain their essential functions and values for future generations. To retain means continue their essential functions and values for their future generations. The convention specifies that contracting parties shall not may formulate and implement their planning to promote the conservation of wetlands, including in the list. Wetlands list lo unnadi kaaku anni kuda. Let us see the question. Under Ramsar Convention, it is mandatory on the part of Government of India to protect, okay, conserve all wetlands. It's not mandatory, expected. The wetland conservation door to door were formed by the Government of India based on recommendations of, yes, it is correct. Encompass the drainage area or catchment regions of wetlands. Drainage area and catchment regions of wetlands. International organization partners. The Ramsar Convention works closely with 6 organizations. International organization, that is BirdLife International, IUCN International Union for Conservation of Nature, and International Water Management Institute, Wetlands International, and WWF Worldwide Fund for Nature, and International Wildfowl and Wetland Trust. Other partners are many: World Heritage, CMF, not that much important. Wetlands International. Wetlands International is a global and non-governmental organization that works to sustain and restore wetlands and their resources for people and biodiversity. It's a global non-governmental to sustain and restore wetlands and their resources for people and biodiversity. With respect to conservation of conservation organization, Wetlands International, which of the following statement is correct? Ramsar site. What do you mean by What is Ramsar site? When a country agrees to the convention, it must designate at least one wetland as a wetland of international importance. కనీసం ఒక wetland అన్న international wetland of international importance అని declare చేయాలి, including Ramsar site. The government commitment to take steps necessary to ensure that ecological character is maintained. And in the list, embodies includes the government's commitment. ఆ లిస్ట్లోనే government's commitment to take necessary steps to ensure that its ecological character is maintained. It must designate at least one wetland designate చేయాలంట international importance లిస్ట్లో, including Ramsar site in the list. Embodies, it also includes government commitment to take steps necessary to ensure ecological character is maintained. Today, Ramsar list in the world largest protect area network. Over 2,400 Ramsar sites cover 2.5 billion square kilometers on territories of 171 Ramsar contracting parties. The world's first site was Cobourg Peninsula in Australia, designated in 19. And the countries with the most Ramsar sites are United Kingdom with 175 and Mexico 142. United Kingdom and Mexico, and then Bolivia as the largest area under Ramsar protection. Detection deletion from list. A contracting party may, because of urgent national interest, or delete or restrict the boundaries of wetlands already included in the list. However, such deletions or restrictions should be compensated for by creating additional natural reserves in same area or elsewhere. More Ramsar sites have been deleted in this way. Okay, నేషనల్ ఇంట్రెస్ట్ అర్జెంట్ నేషనల్ ఇంట్రెస్ట్ కోసం డిలీట్ చేయించాడు, కాకపోతే should compensate for creating additional natural reserves in the same area or elsewhere. Parties have all extremely rarely restricted the boundaries of site on these basis. Success of these way parties more Ramsar sites have ever been deleted in this way. Parties have only extremely rarely restricted the boundaries of a site, transboundary Ramsar sites. Many important wetlands extended as one ecologically coherent whole across national boundaries. In these cases, scope can agree to establish Ramsar sites on their territory. The authorities on both sides of border agree to collaborate. One biologically coherent whole. Coherent means whole. Coherent means whole, logical, or consistent. Montek's record. Ramsar site potentially at risk because of technological developments, um, or other human interference may be placed on Montek's record of Ramsar sites where changes in ecological character have occurred or occurring or like to occur. If a wetland of international importance is brought under Montek's record, what does it imply? Changes in ecological character have occurred or occurring or likely to occur in the wetland because of human interference. It is A. List of Ramsar sites is provided in the last chapter of PMFIS in Indian Physical Geography book. List of Ramsar sites is provided in Indian Physical Geography book. Okay, thank you.